Next tutorial here is going to be a little bit more in depth. You'll want to make sure if you've made any changes to it, just go new and click reload startup file, bring it back to the default setting. And we're going to click on the cube. So if it's not selected, just hit A, make sure you deselect all. If you hit A again, it will select everything, which you don't want. So just deselect everything, right click on the cube so it's got an orange outline on it, and hit tab to go into edit mode. Now when we're in edit mode, just deselect everything again with A. So A will deselect or select everything. Usually when you go into edit mode, everything will be selected the first time you go into it. So we're in edit mode, and what we want to do is make a few changes to this, but we want to make sure we don't completely deform it so that it's really bizarre. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this, and you'll see here that there are 3 axes, Y, X, and Z. And you can see down here, if you forget which one is which at any time, the red one is X, the green one is Y, the blue one is Z. That'll never change, but it'll just show you the rotation, which way it's facing down here. Now say I want to move this particular point here up. I can grab that blue arrow and just drag it up. If I want to move it along red, I can grab it and move it along the red, along the Y, either way, by the way, so I can move it either way. Same with edges. So if I right click an edge, I can move it out, I can move it up. And same with faces. So you select vertices, edges, and faces down the bottom here. I really hope this is recorded on my mouse actually, or I'll have to do it all again. The face, bring it up, bring it down, and so on. Okay, so with that in mind, there are other ways to do it, which are sometimes a bit more straightforward. So what I'd like you to do, or you don't have to do this, you can do it in a minute, but just watch here. G key is going to grab. Now I've actually grabbed that face, I can move it around anywhere I want. But it's really hard to work in 3D because, oops, it's not going to go where I want it to. So say I do want it to go straight up. Well, there's a few ways I could do that. I know that it's on the Z axis, so I could just push Z and it locks it to the straight up and down. Now I can't do anything else except go up and down. If I hit Z again, I'm all good. If I hit Y, I can only move it along that Y axis. And if I hit X, I can only move it along the X axis. Also, if I hold the middle mouse button, it will show me those axes and I can kind of lock it to them as well. So this is really handy to keep in mind because you don't want to go and do something like this. I want to move it up. All right, that looks pretty good. And rotate around and it looks like that. Okay, so you've got to be aware that perspective plays a pretty important part. So that looks like I just dragged it up, but when I turn it around, it's actually Leaning Tower of Pisa over here. So we don't want to be all messed up. So I'll just bring that back and that's a normal cube again. Rotate, I'm just going to grab that and I am going to move it up like that. Rotate on the other hand, I hit R, and rotating a shape like this is not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because what it's going to do is it's going to deform those shapes there. But rotating is with R, and you can select the face and rotate it to get different shapes. Now they should actually have a curve on it, but if I was going to export it, it would just draw a line from here to here because that's the easiest way to split that up. So R will rotate it, and you can also rotate and lock it to an axis. So say I want to lock it to the X axis, which is something I might actually want to do. X, I can now rotate it like that, and I get a shape like that, which is useful. And lastly, I want to scale. So if I want to scale something, I hit S, and I can scale it outwards. Don't scale it backwards, because it will deform all the shapes. And sometimes it's best also when you do this to have your mouse kind of far away but not too far away from it. Because if you move it here, you won't be able to scale inwards. You'll only be able to scale outwards. So if you move your mouse away from it, you've got a lot more control over it. You can scale inwards and now I've got some kind of plinth looking thing, and that's it. So scale as well. You can also scale along an axis. So if I want to scale along the x-axis, I can. So I can make that just wider that way. And this is pretty much all modeling is. It's taking shapes and deforming them by grabbing them, rotating them, scaling them. The proper terminology for grab is to translate, and that's up here. Rotate, the proper terminology is rotate, and scale is scale. But G for grab or translate. And this all refers to the object's transform, which is its position, rotation, and scale in 3D space. So if you've played around with Unity, and you've probably seen that little transform bit up in the top right corner whenever you click on an object, that's what it refers to, an object's position, rotation, and scale in 3D space. So there's an activity there that I'm going to check, or Mr. Greenfield is going to check, and you're going to be able to see whether or not, so we're going to be able to see whether or not you can grab, rotate, scale along an axis. So not just going rotate, boom, there's my weird model that's completely broken. It's useless for anything. But we want to be able to check that you can actually go scale along the y-axis only and make a shape. Just deform your cube so that it looks, I don't know, looks like this or something similar, but make some changes to it without completely wrecking it. All right, next video.